It wasn't just at the stadium where supporters endured a torrid night. This was the scene at a fan park in the centre of town, where Liverpool fans had gathered and found themselves targeted by tear gas as police cleared the area. As these Liverpool fans head home, their club has called for a formal investigation into the events of Saturday night. But for too many in this travelling support, lessons learned will be too late. Back in Liverpool, an open-top bus parade to lighten the mood. This team has made memories this season and won't forget the highs, even if the lows hang heavy. They can always hail trophy success in England. Sadly, they'll always have Paris. James Matthews, Sky News, in Paris.
Well, let's take you live to Liverpool. Just look at that, as James was mentioning towards the end of his report. The open-top bus parade is parading through Liverpool right now as the red half of the city celebrates their team success. They might have lost last night, but do not forget they have won the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, denied the quadruple too after narrowly missing out on Premier League victory too just a week ago. Real Madrid clinching the title, of course, 1-0 last night to deny Liverpool a 7th Champions League crowd. But the fans there incredibly proud of their team for their achievements this year. Of course, all this comes as the Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries said those scenes of Liverpool fans being tear-gassed outside the Stade de France stadium last night in Paris were deeply concerning and has called, along with various authorities, for a full investigation into how French police behaved. But certainly there are celebrations for Liverpool. They might not have won last night, but they are FA Cup winners and Carabao Cup victors too.
What it's like. Think back to that FA Cup final and the next 24 hours for you, what goes through your mind?
Well, it's the worst because it's you know, for me it was my first FA Cup final. It was, you know, stuff I dreamt of as a kid, playing in the park.
Even the suit?
No, but like, you can't be the odd one out, get in and just wear a nice dark suit. You've got to go with the flow, haven't you?
You have the shades as well?
Yeah, I did, mate, yeah. We were under contract, weren't we? So, yeah, I mean, I was always Kenny Dalglish scoring the winner in the park in the FA Cup final. It wasn't the Champions League final, it was the FA Cup final. So, you know, to get there, because, you know, you're not invited, you've got to earn the right to get there. And we got there, and it was obviously, you know, big rivals, Manchester United, so the game was a big glamour game. It was, you know, all over the place. Everyone was talking about it. It was the hottest ticket in town, and you know, we went there. You know, the game kind of, there was so much talent on the pitch. We kind of cancelled each other out, to be honest. I remember Jamie having a chance in the first half, which he should have scored, but I'm over it.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And you know, Eric Cantona comes and scores a winner for Manchester United. I think we took him to the double that year, wasn't it? And I just remember the final whistle going, and I think you always, I don't know, you've done this back, when you analyse the game in your head, you always think, could I have done more? Could I have done more? Was the, you know, and sometimes you watch the game back and there's not, and it's just not your fault, and it's just something you've got to take on the chin, but it's horrible, isn't it?
It's horrible. I mean, it's worse. I think it's worse losing in the semi-final because you never actually get to have the day out at Wembley and try and win the trophy, and the supporters want to do that as well, you know. But you get there, I mean, I was in that obviously horrible feeling against Wimbledon when we lost, but the big thing, we'd won the league. We were expected to go on and do the double, and we didn't, and we lost 1-0. Everybody knows the history, you know, the penalty save. We scored a goal which was knocked off because he brought it back for the free kick, etc., etc. But it's a horrible feeling being there, losing that game when you're expected to win. Your fans are turned up. It's been a build-up the whole week because it's not just that day, and to go and lose to the underdogs, you know, you feel like mugs afterwards. But when the coaching staff come in and say, look, don't be down on it, you've had a brilliant season, played some great football, won the league, you know, it wasn't to be our day today, and you have to get over it. But that was the last game of the season then. That was because we weren't in Europe then, you weren't allowed to play in Europe. The season was over, and then you had to wait until pre-season to get back with the lads after you've had obviously the night out and get into it again.
Did you find it harder then to deal with because you were such big favourites? Because it was seen as one of the biggest FA Cup final shocks ever. Did that add to the way you are after a game?
Can I just add to his question?
Absolutely.
Because we spoke about, you know, building the game up. Real Madrid, you know, they'd won the league 5 games previous against Espanyol. You know, the team hadn't really played up until Betis, the last game of the season, where you looked like he wanted a bit of momentum going into the game. You know, the last 4 games, I think it was only 1 win, wasn't it, in the 3? And me and Aldo spoke about it. Like, you know, they went in. We were talking about Real Madrid might not be really prepared because they won the league and it's all over. And he felt when you went into that game, you'd won the league, hadn't you? A few games before.
Yeah, we had to play on the Monday night before, and that's when Gary Gillespie and I clashed heads, and then we ended up in hospital overnight, and then that disrupted the build-up to the game. Who was going to play? Who wasn't going to play? Are you going to be fit? Aren't you going to be fit? That disrupted it. But in the end, Jace, there's no excuses there. You think we're Liverpool. And we didn't have the luck on the day, and Wimbledon tactically tried to nullify us, and they got the important first goal. We had the penalty chance, which unfortunately Dave Beasant saved, or Aldo missed, whichever way you want to say. But
let's just say Dave Beasant saved it.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about his name in that sentence.
Upset him today.
No, don't upset him tonight. My roommate. But you know,
not tonight, I'm hoping.
No, not tonight. I thought I was sleeping with you.
He's had no sleep. I've been with him all. He'd be asleep now.
Yeah.
Johnny, yeah. But it was just one, you know, those occasions where you're big favourites to win it, and unfortunately it didn't go for you on the day. But you're devastated later on. But you had in the back of your mind that you've won the league, but really we should have done the double and go down in history.
Do you think it helps for someone like Andy Robertson that he's got such a massive game coming up, that World Cup playoff semi-final against Ukraine, possibly with Wales to come in the final? We know how much of a proud Scotsman he is, that you therefore don't spend all summer dwelling on what happened at the end of the club season if you can get your team to the World Cup.
Listen, dwelling's the right word. I think the squad here, the management, now they've been through so many different cup finals and emotions, whether they've won it or lost. You know, dwelling on a negative is not a good thing, and you know it's something that they've learned to adjust to. Listen, they had to get over